Welcome to High Tech Heroes, a program which takes you behind the scenes of today's high-tech industries, where you can meet the people and examine the ideas creating tomorrow's technology. And now coming to you from the studios of Foothill College in Cable Access, Los Altos, high atop the mountains overlooking Silicon Valley, here's your host, Sherwin Gooch.
Hello, I'm Sherwin Gooch. Welcome to High Tech Heroes. Our guest this week is a prime example of what this show is all about. He's someone from behind the scenes whose personal contribution has advanced technology. He was employed as a mainframe operating systems programmer before he could drive, and has programmed more machines than most people have ever heard of. He helped design and build the PLATO computer system and its accompanying international network. Then he helped design, implement, and maintain the statewide network and systems for the Minnesota Educational Computer Consortium. He single-handedly designed and built a network for the Atari home computers and was on the team at Packet Technologies, which built the hardware and software systems necessary to distribute interactive two-way data over cable television networks. More recently, he's been called the most valuable technical resource in Apple Computer's Networks and Communications department. And, in spite of all the serious contributions he's made to the computer and communications industries, hackers all over the country know him as a kindred spirit who still enjoys hacking just for the fun of it. And so it's my pleasure to welcome the best programmer I know, a true super programmer, Mr. Mark Rustad, to our program. Hello, Mark, and welcome to High Tech Heroes.
Happy to be here.
Great. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town in northern Minnesota, Hendrum, Minnesota, and eventually went to high school in Springfield, Illinois.
And did you start playing with computers in Springfield?
Yeah, that's right. There were no computers in Hendrum at the time.
So, about what year is this?
That would have been, let's see, 1969 or 1970.
And that would have made you about how old?
About 14.
14. Well, I guess there are a lot of kids who have computers at 14 now, but that must have been pretty young then.
Yeah, and I was lucky that the first computer I used could do graphics. Unusual at the time.
And what was the name of that computer system?
That was the PLATO III system.
And how did it do graphics?
Well, basically produced video output, and there was a long-distance video connection between Springfield High School and the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. It cost something like $1,200 a month just for the video, and another $200 or $300 a month just to get the keyset data back.
But if memory serves me right, that's the capital of the state of Illinois, so maybe there was a political reason to do that.
Yeah, the capital was just a couple blocks away.
I see.
We could see it out the window.
I see, so it was probably a funding venture.
I believe so. The school certainly didn't have any money.
Okay. And so what did you do while you were programming that machine?
Well, we did a lot of things. The thing that probably got the most notoriety was when we simulated the login page to collect people's passwords.
You simulated the login page, and this is very early. I guess this is, we're still talking 1970?
That would have been 1970, I think, yeah.
Okay, well that's the earliest I've ever heard of that being done. So you simulate the login page, and then what? Somebody sees a display, they think this is the system, and they type their name and password. And
right. We simulated the system. People would type their name and password, and then by queuing up a bunch of key presses, we would throw them back into the real system so they wouldn't realize they gave us their password.
Oh, so you not only stole their password, but you put them back in the system where they should be.
That's correct.
And they couldn't even tell that you'd stolen it.
The other thing we did is that we were able to collect passwords from terminals that weren't in our control. We were able to take terminals that were at the Champaign-Urbana campus and put them in our program remotely so that we could get their passwords.
Well, that's pretty amazing. You brought something along from that machine, I believe, didn't you? So we can see what technology looked like back in 1960s, late 60s?
Yeah, this is part of the terminal interface for the PLATO III system. Actually, it appears that it had been used as part of the PLATO II system beforehand. But
I don't know if we can get this up here or not. That's a big hunk of stuff there. It looks like about 200 transistors. So this is like one MSI integrated circuit now. So this is...
Yeah, if I had seen what was in this when I was operating it, I'm not sure I would have wanted to turn it on.
Now, this was an interface then from what type of computer?
That was from the CDC 1604.
From a 1604 to what kind of devices?
They were storage tube display devices. I believe there were 20 of them.
Well, this thing is big and heavy. It's not quite like the technology of today.
No, there's a fuse missing back here, Sherwin. You got a problem.
Oh yeah, there's a fuse missing, huh?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll fix that after the show. So, what did you do at PLATO? Is there...
I spent a summer working as a system programmer on the PLATO III system with the 1604, and that was probably one of the most important training experiences of my life. I really learned a great deal.
Aren't there some stories about high school kids not having access to the computer when they wanted to have access?
That's true. When we were in Springfield, it was very common for them to use our terminal to do demonstrations because our terminal had the best storage tube on the system and had got the nicest display. They wanted the legislators to see the best, of course. This meant that frequently our terminal wasn't available because they would hook up to our line in the lab for local demonstrations. Again, they want the local demonstrations to see the best also.
Were you good children and didn't type while they were conducting their demonstrations? Or?
Well, they had things set up so, well, they had a switch. They would just turn us off.
I see. Where did you go after PLATO?
Well, let's see. Well, I graduated from high school and went to the University of Illinois for a semester, where I continued working on PLATO as a student worker. By this time, I was working on the, I guess it would have been the 6400, CDC 6400, 6500
So you had
machine.
worked on the 1604 when you were 14 and then been a systems programmer when you're 15 and then moved to a much larger computer. I mean, 6600 family is a very, very powerful set of computers.
I actually did a little bit of messing around with the 6400 when I was 15. That summer I worked there.
And then after Illinois?
I finished my college education at Moorhead State University in Moorhead, Minnesota. And there I had remote access to a 6400 that used teletype terminals. The teletypes were a bit of a come down from the storage tubes that had graphics.
So teletypes meaning ASR?
Yeah, Model 33 teletypes.
Yeah,
paper tape, readers and punches.
What did you program while you were there?
Programmed, well, actually mostly assembly language, which is Compass on the CDC machines. Fortran, a little bit of Snowball, Algol, COBOL,
Well,
BASIC.
There's quite a few different things to write. Are there any stories about working at Moorhead?
A lot of things happened in Moorhead. Eventually a consortium was formed to coordinate educational computing throughout the state, and they decided to buy their own computer to supplant the one at the University of Minnesota that we had been accustomed to using.
And this is the famous MEC?
That's correct.
Minnesota Educational Computer Consortium. Computing Consortium,
yeah.
Okay.
And they went through a very contentious process to buy their computer and wound up with a UNIVAC 1110.
Oh, well, that is a story that I know people will want to hear, because this is the only time in history that I know of where the technical people had a technical problem with something and were at odds with the politicians, and as I understand, the techies won this one.
That's one way of interpreting it.
Well, I guess we'll hear about that in detail when we come back after this message.
This is what it feels like to have an asthma attack. It's like breathing through a very thin straw. Asthma is a serious lung disease that can affect people of all ages. The American Lung Association helps people with asthma learn how they can lead normal lives. Asthma can be controlled. For more information, call your local American Lung Association. It's a matter of life and breath. The American Lung Association, the Christmas Seal people.